This is wild. Do not go in those things. I was just a completely different person, and I assure you it is not. That's just what my shoulder sounds like. I sold 60. I'm trying to be smart about it, but it's hard. Not stayed conscious the whole day. Once in a while, they say you get a 6-foot table and you actually get a 5-foot table. Oh, hi, welcome to Sewing Nerd Studios. I am Jo, and this week we are doing my first 3-day outdoor market. Ooh. Also, I can't even say 3 days anymore, even though that's what I was preparing for, because it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? But Thursday was over 100 degrees for the heat index, and the humidity was just off the rails, and a bunch of thunderstorms came through, so I would have not stayed conscious the whole day. I am already a very warm person. Like, I run really hot. I sweat significantly more than everybody else in my life. So much so it feels like a personality trait at this point. On top of already being like that, I've been on Wellbutrin. Well, bupropion is the like generic of it, but I've been on that for almost 2 years now. A while. I've been on it for a while, and I have realized that that makes it that much harder to regulate my body temperature. So the thing I was most anxious about, other than leaving Bert for 3 really long days, was being out in the heat 3 days in a row, because the vending hours were 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. But you have to factor in setup time before the 10 o'clock hour, and then breakdown time after 8 o'clock. And it's a half-hour drive each way, and that's just very, very, very long days. And it's a very physically laborious thing to do. So I was really stressed out because it is hard to maintain my meat sack in extreme conditions like that. If I'm just sitting around. I still got really dizzy throughout the day on Thursday, even though I was home. We don't have air conditioning here, but we do have a small pool in the backyard, so I kept taking Bert into it because he was also like hot and uncomfortable. So we dunked ourselves intermittently throughout the day, and that helped like keep our body temperature cool. And I took at least 2 showers that day, but certainly one of those morning showers where you never fully dry off, because that is just how wet the air is. Hi, welcome to New Hampshire. It's a swamp in the summertime, and I don't feel like people talk about that enough. Everyone just thinks it's skiing season year round, and I assure you it is not. Anyway, I promise this isn't just me bitching about the weather. It did rain a bunch, and that obviously like impacted my weekend, and I tried to film as much as I could. Oh, hi! Welcome to Sewing Nerd Studios. I am Jo, and this week we're doing my first multi-day outdoor event. So, this is wild. How are ya? So, today's Saturday is day 3, and it is currently raining, if you can hear it, and it was raining yesterday as well. But because New Englanders are stubborn, it's still really busy. We are 1 hour and 12 minutes into the day. So, it's crossed. I have some more of those over here if you wanted to look. No pressure, just let me know. I'm spinning that. I have a dress out of that fabric too. I thought it'd be overkill to wear a purse with the dress, but
I love your little cryptid pouches.
Oh, thank you.
Man,
I do.
Bigfoot.
He's the spookiest boy.
Oh, I already.
Yeah. Can you tell I like foxes?
Sure.
Nice.
I'm obsessed with that website.
It starts with that. Yeah. When people think
Sure,
they
I know, that's my
because it was like a whole downtown area that was shut down. It was called Concord Market Days Street Festival. They had a stage with music playing. There were very clean porta potties. I have to say, I had to walk like 2 sides of a whole city block to get to them, but worth it for them not being disgusting. Maybe just because I've worked a lot of brew fests, and once you're past the halfway mark in a brew fest, do not go in those things. is a bad time, considering it was like a free town-wide thing with like a lot of people, more than I was expecting considering the weather. Very impressed. I don't know if there were other places where porta potties were, but like this was right by the beer garden where one of the local breweries made like a special beer for Market Days. I think it was called like Market Daze, D-A-Z-E. It was like a hazy IPA, because of course it was. I did not partake. I haven't really felt like drinking like at all this year. I've had like half a beer when I hosted Jim Henson Trivia the other week, and then I had a beer at dinner with my sister. We got to go see Hedwig and the Angry Inch in theaters. I've never seen it on the big screen before, but they were showing it as part of like a Pride series of movies up at Red River Theaters, and it was so much fun. I dressed up like Hedwig. I took a couple pictures because 6 years ago when I went on a big long road trip in 2018, I was meeting up with my friend Grant in New York. Well, actually, we met up in Boston, spent the night there, did a little road trip to Providence, and then made our way to New York City for a week. And our friend Samo was supposed to come with us too, and she wasn't able to. So she sent me like a clay minifig of herself that she made. It didn't get to me in time. It got lost at the wrong post office. Like whoever was sorting stuff like switched 2 of the numbers for the zip code like distribution center it went to. I was so sad while I was tracking it. It was like, it's here, and like normally it would have gotten to me, but there was some mess up that happened and it's delayed, and I wasn't able to stay to acquire it, which made me sad. But it had arrived by the time I got back from my road trip. So I've had this little tiny Sama for years and haven't taken her out on the town. But my sister was like, you should print out a picture of her so we can take photos with her while we go see Hedwig. And I was like, I can do you one better. So we very sneakily took Sama with us and took a picture of her drinking some margaritas. And we also got like chimichangas at this restaurant that we both really like. Took a picture of her in my pocket. And then with the movie poster in front of the theater, and then with the bucket of popcorn that I got to share with Mini Sam. So it was an absolutely lovely night out. But I had a beer at dinner and then a beer at the movie theater. And like, it's not that I didn't enjoy the beer, like I enjoyed drinking it, but it's just not worth it the next day. I wasn't hungover or anything, but you're thrown off, you're more dehydrated than you would be otherwise. I just don't like the additional time it takes away from me. We're being on vacation with friends or like hanging out with them for a weekend, and that's kind of just part of the activities, and you're just taking it easy and stuff is fine. But if I'm doing any work, which is most days, like there's rarely a day I don't work when I'm home, then I just don't wanna. So that's why I'm particularly drawn to sours and stuff, and would not have gone for this IPA that this market had anyway. To circle back to what I was initially talking about, back to the point. So I didn't even go on Thursday, and I was one of a few vendors that didn't go. All my vendor friends that were there said it wasn't worth it because it also closed down a couple hours early due to really intense flash flooding and thunderstorms going through. So it was like unsafe to be there. I saw someone's Instagram story and there was people just like running down the street to get away from the festival. So really glad I didn't do that. And just having to like load your stuff back into your car in conditions like that. I don't care if it rains the whole time the event is happening. I would rather it stay dry during setup and breakdown. And listen, New Englanders are stubborn, and there was still so much foot traffic on Friday, which was my first day of the fest. And I had been in the spot marked number 2, which was one spot away from the main drag. So it's literally called Main Street, which is where the bulk of the festivities were happening. It's where the stage and most of the food vendors were. But we had our side street called Pleasant Street up until like the first set of lights you got to. All of us were along there, and I think there were over 50 of us. So I got moved to spot 47, which is like 2 or 3 from the end of the street. But I had to park around that way, and a lot of people had to park around that way. So we still had a ton of people coming through that weren't necessarily looking for the market, but passed by anyway and like came and went past all of our booths. So I think that helped foot traffic. Because at first I was like, oh, I gave up my number 2 spot because obviously they like moved everyone down so that there weren't big gaps with the vendors that were missing on Thursday. So I totally understand having to relinquish that spot. And I actually ended up trading with an artist, a friend of mine, Jackie Hansen. She's known for her chicken art. She even made pride chickens, and just the sweetest bean, nicest human. I am so lucky to be in such a lovely, supportive, friendly, encouraging, hyping each other up, willing to help people, going out of their way to help people type of community. It's really encouraging, and even when there's kind of a rough event happening, we'll still get like hang time together. And what I really like about the event organizer is that she gave everyone the option of bailing on Thursday if they didn't feel like they could be safe doing it. It's one thing to do a farmer's market for 4 hours one day of the week, which is something that happens a lot for me in the summer. But then I have multiple days after that to not be doing that kind of work out in the heat. And I can just sit in front of a fan and rehydrate and like work in the basement or go to the library where there's air conditioning, whatever it is. But this being a multi-day event in that heat, I just couldn't see it happening. And the relief I felt having the option to bail on Thursday was like such a heavy burden lifted off of me. I knew I was anxious about it, but I didn't realize just how anxious I was. So that was great. I love that she gave us the option. And part of her thing as far as organizing these events and coordinating everything is that she doesn't let assholes in. And if you pull some like weird shit, you're not gonna get invited back. And that makes me feel that much safer. So it's not just curation of your art you are selling, it's curation of, you just want good people that aren't gonna be jerks to each other and are there to support. Like, things happen, like I understand interpersonal issues arise, but like as long as they're handled like adults and it doesn't become like everybody's problem, it should be fine. But I have yet to meet a vendor that I didn't enjoy speaking with at her events. That is why I have gone out of my way to do events where I haven't sold a single thing, because it's something she wants to try out at a new space, and the group of people she gets together to do those events are worth doing it with. When I did that dealership on Black Friday last year, that was for this organizer, and then there was this like rec center event I did, and you know, they were trial run things where I wouldn't want to be a guinea pig for many people, but I'll do it for her. I feel like I've been in the trenches with those other vendors and stuff, and we can get through anything now. Anyways, it sounded like Thursday was rough for a lot of people, and some folks, you know, they made some money. Some people only made 1 or 2 sales. I just didn't feel like it was worth the chance of making some money to put myself at risk like that. And also, Bert would have just been by himself all day in the heat, and I wouldn't have been able to like monitor him and like take him in the pool to cool him down and hose him off after. So like, it was definitely a better decision. And then those vendor friends had said, you made the right call not being here, especially because we all had to bail. And there were a couple folks that actually had some of their inventory ruined. I have fabric bags. They're washable, so it's not ideal for them to get wet, but it's not a crisis. They're probably not going to be in peak condition the following day if I don't get a chance to like repress them or something. I'd prefer it not be wet like that, because I also usually end up having to redo my signage because it's just cardstock that I've printed on, where I could get it laminated, but I changed my product around so much and I don't have a laminator, so it's fine. I did end up going on Friday. I set up. I had been really worried. I did email the organizer, and then another vendor has a YouTube channel that I've been watching. It's got to be coming up on a year now, if not more. And she had mentioned in one of her videos that she was doing a 3-day outdoor market. And I'd commented on her video saying, oh, I have my first multiple day outdoor market coming up, and I'm trying not to be like a ball of anxiety about it. And she gave like a really encouraging comment just saying like, we're going to do great. It's going to be fine. Then the email went out with all of the vendors' names and booth locations for this festival. We were both going to be vending at the same event. The 3-day market she was doing was the 3-day market I was doing. So she found me on Instagram and messaged me, and it said like, oh, that's too funny. Like, the event you're anxious about is the one I'm getting ready for. So I did it last year. It was our best market. Let me know if you have any questions, and like super supportive and sweet. So I had thanked her. I told her I was mostly unsure about what to do with my tent overnight for an outdoor market. And it sounds like, and what I experienced is most people take all their inventory home, but they leave the display bits and like leave their tent up, but lower it down. And that's exactly what I did, because unless someone desperately needs a tablecloth that stretches over a 6-foot folding table, or some tent walls, like there's not much for you to ransack there that would be useful. So yeah, I just like didn't know what the protocol was and what most people did, because the thought of setting up and breaking down before and after 10-hour days each day I was doing it was also like, that is so much to do, just like length of time and the physical labor of it all. So I was very appreciative to find out like, oh, okay. Especially like if everybody does it, then nobody's going to mess with it. I heard someone had some stuff stolen last year, but it's because they left all their inventory out. They didn't break anything down. I wasn't willing to leave my stuff out because it takes so long to make. All stuff I'm really excited about, and I'd be really sad to see any of that stolen. Not that their stuff isn't also a labor of love and a lot of time and effort and all of that stuff. I'm not trying to dismiss their artwork. But anyway, so I got my stuff set up Friday. It was actually pretty busy, even though it was raining off and on, like light rain. There was maybe an hour window where it was slightly heavy rain, but not like a downpour. And so many people were out. I imagine more people would have been out if it hadn't been raining, but it was one of the best attended markets I've done. The only event I did that might have had more people at it was Portsmouth Market Day last year, but they had me so far away from the downtown area. Like, it's spread out too far, in my opinion. Seeing pictures of the crowd at the rest of the fest versus the street, I was blocks and blocks and blocks away. Like, driving to my spot from the center of downtown Portsmouth, the number of side streets I had to keep driving past to get to my road and the block I was on, I genuinely was like, I have to go another one. I was not happy about that. And everybody on our stretch, like, you saw a few people coming through, but then, you know, when I went to go use the bathrooms and walked through the center of everything and saw the other areas where the other artisans were, it was like, oh, like, it was hard to walk through that crowd, and we weren't getting much of that at all. But this was really nice. Even though we were on a side street, still a ton of people coming through because it wasn't spread too thin. So that was really nice. I did have a little downtime towards the end when, like, honestly, I was about to say when the heavy rain picked up, but I think I made my biggest sales when the rain was like at its heaviest both days. It was really bizarre, where I guess like the people that were out and wanted to buy stuff were just gonna tough it out and go in each booth. And obviously, like, if you're under a tent, you don't mind spending more time if you're hiding from the rain. Some of the downtime I had, I started prepping these dumpling pouches that I wasn't able to finish before the market, because I did finish all 20 of my saddlebags. I have duplicates of most of the design, not duplicates, but like similar main fabric, but different gussets or flaps or linings happening. I think I only sold 2. I'm gonna wait to show you my sales sheet till we cover Saturday. But I was prepping the rest of the dumpling pouches because I was selling so many of them. This is the product that I kept convincing myself wasn't a good seller, but then once I actually started tracking my inventory, realized, no, that's like the thing I sell the most of, actually. Brains are weird, and you gotta fight your self-hating monologue with facts. So now that I have factual information to fight my own brain with, it has been very helpful. But I have a few left where I just need to do the stitching and then bind the edges, and then these will be done, where like the prep is the most time consuming part. But I have a couple, there's like 6 or 7 here. Just kidding, there's 10 here. But these will go together quick. I'm anticipating having these done for a market I'm doing this weekend, which I'm so glad I went through and filed all my receipts this morning, where it's something I've been putting off basically the entire month of June. And I've been really bad about that, like not filing my receipts in a timely manner and like documenting my mileage and all that stuff. So it takes a long time once I am catching up, but I try to keep all of my vendor fee emails in a specific folder just to like track the receipts in a specific section. But I usually have that in a separate email account than like what I message people through, because I like making things harder for myself. So I was going through and like making sure I had documented the cost and everything, and then I went to double check the size space I was going to have and was like 99% sure I had an outdoor spot that I could set up my whole tent. So I had everything still in the car. All I was doing was drying out the sandbags, which got soaked, and the tent top. I had taken that out, and the risers for my table, because I have a set of 4 like bed risers that I got at the thrift store for like $1. So I do outdoor markets. I don't have my grids set up as tall because I have a tent to contend with. Also, I hit my head really hard earlier. I'm glad it's not seeming to bruise, but yeah, I clocked myself so hard a couple hours ago. And that's why I didn't film earlier on, because I just had this giant red, not welt, but it was tender, and I don't really feel any sensitivity there. So that's good. I was letting stuff dry out, but I thought like, oh, I'm doing the same setup at this other outdoor market this coming Saturday, so I'm just going to leave everything in my car, because that's usually what I do, because like, why stress my body out more than I need to? Other than when I go grocery shopping, it's a bit of a nuisance. I don't think I have to do a big grocery haul this week, so it should be fine. So the event I'm doing this Saturday is called Small Mart, and they have some events happening in a few different locations. Something I'm a little thrown off by is like the day after I paid for this table for Saturday, they announced that they're doing another small series of small marts at a different location. And some of those dates are the same as the one I'm doing. So it's the same organizers, but they have multiple markets booked on the same day. And I don't think they're like near each other. So I super don't understand, and I feel like a little caught off guard by that. So we'll see. It was $65 for the space, and it's at a brewery. It's down in Medford, Massachusetts, which is outside of Boston. Mepha, if you're a local. And it's at Deep Cuts Brewery, which I had never heard of before this. So I'm curious. I'm trying to branch out into other spaces. I haven't done much in Massachusetts other than the Mill No. 5 events in Lowell. So that's why I tried the Old Mill Coffee House Market on the Brook, like my most successful event before this one back in May. That was really lovely. That was in Chelmsford. So yeah, just trying to noodle around a little bit more, while also being more selective about where I'm going, because I definitely burnt myself out in previous years, just doing everything that came my way. So trying to be smart about it, but it's hard trying to figure it out. Like, you never know. It's a crapshoot. It could be great. And it could also just be absolutely nothing. And you just end up being told to kick rocks by the universe, which always feels great. But super glad I was double checking that email while I was organizing everything this morning and filing those receipts, because it did in fact say that I have a 6-foot table indoor space. So I don't even have room for like my garment rack if I wanted to hang bags or clothes off of there. I haven't been bringing clothes to stuff because, not that I'm not willing to make clothes for people, but it's so hard selling them where bags are one size fits all and much more easy to customize, not seasonal. Really, like certain prints are probably seasonal, but I don't have to worry like, oh, cardigans and pullovers aren't really summer outfits, so I gotta just stick with like the skirts and sundresses, you know? I just didn't have it in me to deal with that lately. I really wanted to just focus on making some of the nicer, higher end bags. Is that an acceptable term for your own stuff? They're not just like little pouches. They're like handbags, purses, whatever. So yeah, it is in fact a indoor 6-foot table space. And they specifically said extra racks and stuff are not allowed, which is fine. Like, that's the agreement, and like I'm sure I was aware of that when I signed up for it. It's not like they were hiding that fact. So just, hey, make sure you double check the information on your event email so that you don't think you're doing an outdoor event when you're doing an indoor event, and think you have a 10 by 10 space when you actually have a 6-foot by 4-ish space. So slightly different recalibration. Like, I'm still bringing the same inventory, but obviously I don't need to bring my dowels and all of that set up, and obviously don't need the tent. I still need to bring my own table, which is nice because I know for sure it's the size I need, because once in a while they say you get a 6-foot table and you actually get a 5-foot table, and that's not great, but I digress. Actually, I'm going to do some quick math so that I can tell you if Friday was actually my best sales day of the year. I think it might have been. This is my sales sheet from all the rest of the events I did this spring, so there's several different colors on here, and you can see the number of things I sold per event. I will show you the one from this past weekend after I do some math. I will tell you I sold 16 dumpling pouches Friday, which felt lovely, but I was running low on them because I didn't get to finish the whole batch of stuff. I got a portion of the batch done from last week. I just prioritized like the ones I was most excited about, so like the glow in the dark skulls and stuff like that, which people bought almost immediately. So note to self, make a bunch of those. But that's why I took time prepping more dumpling pouches at the event. I'm really glad I brought them with me, because I don't think I would have had the time to work on any of them if I hadn't done the prep work ahead of time. So yeah, that worked out really well. And I was able to get another 10 done first thing Saturday morning before I went back to the market. Saturday was actually slower. I think the weather was worse. It was cool, I would say. It was rainier, like heavier rain, and like the whole day. Where Friday there were stretches where it was sunny. I was surprised because you would think, given the option between like a weekday and a weekend day, the Saturday would be busier. But there was also a Queen cover band playing Friday night, and that was really lovely to listen to while I was packing up, because Queen is one of my favorite bands. There's a reason I did Queen trivia at the brewery sometime earlier this year, last year, whenever. At some point I did Queen trivia because I enjoy listening to their music a lot. I filmed a little bit while I was at the market Saturday. I tried doing like the intro and everything. Maybe that's how I intro the video. I'm not sure. I gotta listen to the audio, but like it was raining, as I mentioned. So there was the noise of that hitting the tent, and people next to me in either booth talking, and then people in the street talking. So I don't know how good the audio is. So hopefully you're able to hear me like trying to interact with customers. I always feel so embarrassed when anybody is observing me doing the sales pitches and stuff, but it's part of the job. Like, you're there to work and sell stuff, so you being a salesperson for your own things is not a bad thing. But I am getting more comfortable with it, but still it's my least favorite part of the job, is like trying to convince people to buy my things. So yeah, slower day Saturday, which meant I took more time to go and say hi to vendor friends and just catch up with them for a bit, because a lot of us have done separate events, but this is kind of all of us coming together since the holidays. And it's just nice to kind of be back into the swing of things with everybody. It always feels like summer camp is back in session when these types of events are back, because it's this core group that I'll be doing arts in the park up in Concord once a month throughout the rest of the summer. Like through September, I think I'm doing one Saturday morning into early afternoon a month. I think it's going to be a very fun market season, and I'm looking forward to it. Now that this one's under my belt, I think the rest of it is going to be that much easier. And it's nice because I've already paid for all of those. So I almost feel like I've already earned that money back. Oh, one more quick thing before I give you all the totals. I did get accepted to a market that's happening in Salem, New Hampshire at Tuscan Village. It's, I think, 10 or 11 until 3, I think, are the hours. So it's a 4 or 5 hour market. But it's $150, and I haven't been hearing particularly great things about the foot traffic there. And I don't know if it's because the weather lately or what, but for an event I haven't heard all that much about to start with. It's in a really cool space, but that seems expensive for what you're doing. Where the 3-day market I just did, even though I only did 2 of the days, it was $185. And that was extremely well attended despite so much rain and crap weather and heat and everything. So I don't know that $150 is worth it. Also, I don't see it advertised all that much. I only know about it because I see friends that are vending at that event post about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, but I don't see anything as far as like the organizers side of it all. So I'm just unsure about that. I have until July 1st to commit to it. I don't think I'm gonna go. I'm feeling like it's not gonna happen. I did apply for more markets run by the coffee shop that I did the market on the brook with, because that was like $120 or $125 for the booth. They market the shit out of their stuff, and they're also super nice, and I really, really, really enjoyed being there. They have a similar vibe where they're just like, markets are already tough enough. They're such long days, and it's hard selling your stuff to people. It's very vulnerable. Asking for money for your art. We don't need bad attitudes here. So yeah, that is also just like very, very nice energy at that one. So I applied for more, and $120 felt like a big investment, but they ended up making it worth my while. So I'm more than happy to go back there. But okay, I'm gonna do some math, which, you know, is everybody's favorite. And then I will show you the actual like cold hard facts of the weekend. I'm excited to enter this. I like spreadsheets. For someone who is so math averse, I do still like charts of information. Okay, are you ready for this past weekend's sales sheet? So, not including mystery items, although I did sell all the mystery drawstring dice bags that I had. And then I sold some mystery jewelry, and then my first mystery tote bag, which I probably put too much effort into wrapping. Like, I gift wrapped tote bags that were in shirt boxes, including like wrapping paper, but then also like ribbon around it, and then a little tag explaining what's in it. I do think I'm gonna update this sign because it has my old like branding, because I don't have any out for display because they're all in the mystery bags. So people are like, oh, is it like these? And they'll point to the slings. Like, that's not, no. But people like to have some idea. So I do either like a sketch of what it would look like, or just say $35 value, because that's how much I had been selling them for. And I sold some at that cost. I don't feel like wildly overpriced or anything. I'm not interested in making them anymore. I got way more fun stuff to do. So I thought it'd be fun to do mystery version. So I think using this little thing to give some type of other enticement or some type of information about it, I think would be fun. So if you have any suggestions on phrasing, please let me know. I would much appreciate them. Anyways, this is not including the one piece of jewelry I sold, which, side note, I didn't have any of my jewelry out on Friday. I keep forgetting I worked a 2-day weekend market, but it was Friday, Saturday, not Saturday, Sunday. And today's Monday somehow. Time, you know? Non-mystery bags that I sold between card wallets, dog bag holders, which increased sales by putting a single like dog bag in the dog bag holder, because I think people were having a hard time seeing the buttonhole on the side, and it just made it easier to understand what it was I was selling. Because there was an old man that came up to my booth. I don't remember what market this was at. He's like, "You put your dog's shit in there?" It's like, "No, sir." But this made it easier. Like, people didn't have to try to figure it out. It was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. So I wasn't going to continue making them because they're just converted keychain bags. But I think I might switch some of the keychain bags over to those, because especially doing art in the park type events, like farmers market type event, like a lot of people have dogs, so it seems like a smart thing, and it's such a small section of my display. I think I kind of want to revitalize that segment of my inventory. All the bags combined, I sold 60, which is kind of wild thinking about it. That's 60 bags, and some of those were the crossbodies and some were the slings. Here's the breakdown. I sold 4 of the dog bags. I sold 2 of the crossbodies. I do wonder if it was too overwhelming, me having, I think, 14 designs out at once. I had 2 levels of crossbody bags hanging from my tent. And I think it might have just been like too much for people to go through, where when I had like 7 out on a single rung at a different event, I sold 4 of the 7. This is definitely something I've noticed is I'll make a small batch, like a tester batch of an item to sell at an event. It'll do well, and then I go so hard to make like a huge batch, and then I hardly sell any of them. But I think it's because I put too many things out. So my slings, I think I sold more of those. They're a little bit cheaper. It's 55 or 2 for 100 for the slings, and I charge 70 for the crossbody bags. And then all of the smaller bags, I just did a blanket 2 for 20 or 12 a piece. And a lot of people mix and match things, and that definitely helped sales, I think. I also had a new display thing for my dumpling pouches, and then started with just dumplings in the baskets, and then I switched to dumplings and keychain bags just to show like there's a variety of mini bags. And that's how I was marketing it. It's like mini bag sale, 2 for 20 or 12 a piece. And most people got those bags in pairs, and it was just that little extra incentive. So that was also very cool. But I only had like 6 designs of my sling bags out, so I'll try that out this coming weekend, because I also just won't have the room to put all 20 something designs of my crossbodies out. So I'll have to pick and choose what I have. And then, you know, if someone's interested in one of the purple-ish bags, I can say like, hey, I have more designs of that style if that's like a color you like, and then I can show them off. So I'll have to be strategic about it, but I'll see what happens. And I can just kind of suss out the crowd. So honestly, if I sold 1 crossbody at the event this Saturday, that's going to cover my table cost, and potentially like some parking I'll have to pay for, because it is in like a downtown area. That panic of like going to a city you're unfamiliar with and not knowing what the parking situation is, I did Google Maps it and do Street View and like look for a municipal lot, and there is one like down the block, so I think I'll be all right. Anyways, I also don't know how many other vendors are going to be there, so I'm really curious. And it's going to be a Saturday at a brewery, so I feel like it'll be all right. We'll see. I don't know what the vibe is at the brewery, because obviously that's a factor in these things, but it's curated, like it's a jury of people that do it. Maybe it's just one person that does it. Especially if it's not just a first come first serve type market. They are picking people that they think are going to do well. Like, the event organizers want it to succeed, so they're going to pick people that they think will be successful. If I get accepted to an event, I try to take it as like, there's a reason I was accepted. It's because they want me to be there. They think it will benefit them and me for me to be there. So we'll see what happens. I'm really curious. I think I'm excited about it. Is this what having like 1 iota of confidence is like? Like, I'm excited to share my stuff with a new crowd of people. And that feels really nice. Foreign, but nice. I sold 21 dumpling pouches over the weekend, which is wild. In total, this year, I have sold 51 dumpling pouches. And yeah, 4 slings, 15 keychain bags, 4 dog bags, and 9 card wallets, which is the most I've sold. That's definitely the most interest I've ever had in the card wallets. So I don't think I'll have time to make more in time for this event, unless I sell out of all of my slings or something this weekend, which I don't see happening. I'm going to focus on just restocking like lots of different types of mini bags for future summer markets. And then I want to venture into all the handbags that I have printed out patterns for and haven't actually gotten into yet. So it's on the docket. There's just not enough time in life, not enough hours in the day, not enough days in the week. So yes, that's just what my shoulder sounds like. I just have a snappy body. It is somehow already 4 o'clock. So I may or may not have a Ramona Flowers custom order to make for someone that needs to go out today that I haven't even started. I haven't even begun to cut things out, so I definitely need to start on that. It might have to be one of those things, and I hate doing this, but I might have to start on it. But then if I don't get it 100% finished, I want it to be done well rather than rushed, since I know how much it's gonna weigh and everything. The mailman has already come by today, so it wasn't getting out today anyway. But if I finish it in the morning, I won't feel super guilty printing out the shipping label tonight. I do feel like that's cheating a bit because Etsy has it, so it has to get shipped out today, and you get penalized if things are late. What I should do is just extend the processing time, because this is the second time this has happened where I've had so much going on in that processing time that I haven't been able to do it before the day of, and then I've actually shipped it out the day after it was like shipped. You know what I mean? So printing the label the night before it actually goes in the mail. I get annoyed when people do that to me, though I understand. If it's a day before, I don't care. When people do it weeks before, which absolutely happens sometimes, that drives me nuts. I try not to be that person, but alas, cutting myself a little slack with how everything has been lately. Also, I felt terrible yesterday, so I'm very glad I didn't end up working the market Thursday, because I genuinely don't think I would have made it through. I don't think I could have tolerated that much heat and like days that long. It really drove home how taxing it is to do markets in person. A couple of people I know that have mobility aids. There's one person that is like permanently in a wheelchair that does Mill Number 5 events, and lots of people are 100% willing to use some of their setup time to help them out. I'm sure that's a big barrier for a lot of people. It's something I definitely have to consider. As you heard the snapping of my body just existing in space. I could barely get out of bed yesterday because I was in so much pain, and today has been difficult as well. I'm more comfortable now, but I did take some painkillers, which I really try not to do, because listen, if I took painkillers every time I was in pain, it'd be every single day. So I really only take it when it's extreme, and I can feel it starting to wear off a bit. So if I'm a little slower on the back end here, that is part of it. Is it's distracting, if nothing else, when your body is screaming at you. Definitely not because I have attention disorder. And hey, I wouldn't have been able to take yesterday off to recuperate and not actively do work for the day if it was not for everybody over on Patreon. So thank you all so much for the support. I deeply appreciate you all being here, everybody that hangs out. I still have to put the bonus video up. Oh, I almost forgot. I will work on that this week. And also, okay, I did run into my former boss, the employer I worked for a decade at a dental lab. This is before I moved to the costume shop. That boss thought I was still at the costume shop, which I was at all of 2018. And that also means last time I saw that boss, like, my dad was still alive. Sick, but still alive. And I was just a completely different person. That was before a whole pandemic. So wild and like a little disorienting talking to someone that I saw every day for a decade, just about. He was encouraging, like he came and saw my booth. I had met him on the main drag when I was trying to find some snacks because I was tired and it was slow on Saturday and I was just needing something to like satiate my brain so that I didn't just fall asleep at my my booth. But I ran into him and then he was like, oh, whereabouts are you? And then he came up to see me and yeah, he thought I was still doing costume stuff, which I do technically. Honestly, like the owner, I don't think is a bad guy. He just had no backbone. So like when there was an issue with me and my really awful manager, if you're seeing this for some reason, one of the most toxic people I've ever met in my life, he always backed her up. She kind of made everyone bend to her will, and we started butting heads when I wasn't letting that happen anymore. But there were some frustrations with like him not supporting me when there were issues between me and the manager. And the manager was as close as we got to like a human resources person, but she is the one causing 99% of the issues. So not great. He was a good guy, but a not very good boss, if that makes sense. Like I don't have ill will towards him, but there's, you know, frustration with not getting back up and having someone in your corner when you really should have. And I was a kid when I started working there. I was 19 to 29 working there. So I grew up at this place and, you know, there was a bit of that like paternal relationship with this person. So it was nice. Not that I have felt like I needed to prove anything to this guy at all. To be honest, I haven't thought about him all that much in recent years, but God, it felt like a lifetime ago that I was there. It was a whole ass different person that was working at that lab in mostly good ways. Like I am more battle worn, but so much stronger and happier and more content and more confident than I ever was then. I don't always just assume I'm the problem. I certainly am the problem sometimes. I'm not saying I'm never causing an issue for anybody. Not feeling like I'm always doing something wrong, because that's very much how I felt like the entire time I was there. And when you don't have any type of support, how are you not going to feel like that? So having him see how well I was doing, and I got to say, we're like, this still hasn't quite sunk in somehow. But I got to say, when he's like, oh, so you're not working for that costume place anymore. I was like, no, I'm self-employed now. This is like what I get to do. And I can't believe that's like a true thing. Does that make any sense? I don't need to cry about this. It felt good to say it and mean it and know it to be true. And again, not in like a show-off kind of way, but just felt like I was showing someone how I've been succeeding and like been forging my own path. Yes, I do still work part-time at the brewery, but it's because of Patreon. It's because of support on my Etsy shop. It's because of people coming out to these markets that I'm able to support myself. Yeah, I don't know how to thank you for that, but I got to have this really incredible moment, and more for me than for him, because again, it's not like I ever felt like I had to prove anything to this person, but it felt nice like saying these things and that I'm self-employed and like I do this full time and this is my livelihood now, and not having any caveats, not having an asterisk to that, not having any kind of qualifiers for it, and letting that be the truth of it all. Felt really good and cool. And also, so as far as like my goals for sales for the weekend, I set a number goal and I hit exactly that number, which has never happened before. I have surpassed goals before, such as like the holiday oddity market I did at Mill Number 5 in December. That was one of my best markets. And then I surpassed my goal at the market on the brook back in May. But this, I like had a specific number in mind And I thought it was going to be across 3 days, and it was only across 2. And I hit exactly on that number, and that felt pretty dang good. So I sold 60 bags this weekend. It's pretty cool. Okay, before we take a dive deep in the cheese, I'm gonna go. But thank you so much for being along for the ride. It's been so cool to get to share all of this, and I know I've taken a lot on the chin the past 6 months or so as far as events, but it's nice to have some wins under my belt and like feel good about what I'm putting out, and having people that have bought stuff for me in the past because I've been doing this long enough that they get excited to see my stuff again. And especially because I've rebranded everything, like it looks different, same business name. I have enough of a voice in my products that people recognize that, like the style of it, and that feels so cool. So cool. So there were people that were repeat customers that came and sought my stuff out, and like, what an absolute honor that someone likes my stuff enough. It's nice knowing the workmanship is to a point that I feel like that's part of the value of the items, is that I try to make them look really nice, obviously, but I also try to make them well. And hearing that, because obviously I only know how well they hold up from my own experience, and I try to make everything washable. So it's just cool getting that kind of feedback. And the joke I made was like, well, I'll have to make them worse next time. I'm so sorry that it's still holding up so well. So, okay. I will see you back here with another video in 2 Fridays. Thank you so much for hanging out. She had mentioned she was doing a 3-door outdoor. 3-door out, three doors down? No, those go up higher. No, the opposite. Let's say what we mean. I did 2 rungs of my danging howl. Yep, that's how words work.